Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Unsolicited Lifting Advice. My name is Sam.
My name is Monis.
Thank you for joining us again on this wonderful evening. Little saucier than usual.
Just a tad.
So we Monis goes, hey, meet me at Looney's instead of my place after. And I say, okay, cool, totally fine. We're gonna, meet up there, grab a bite to eat. Well, bite to eat turned into we tested your May cocktail menu, correct? Or at least some of it.
Some of the ideas. So what we've got planned is a shot and then 3 drinks.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 of those drinks are set. We've got a couple of candidates all vying for that 3rd spot.
Yeah.
So what we did was sit down and start tasting the competitors.
Yeah. Stiff competition, I will say. Yeah, man. This is gonna lead into how we're starting the conversation.
Yeah.
Long weekend. So let's just hop right in. Let's talk about prom real quick. So I work for a school. For those who don't know, work at a school and work on security, the campus safety and security staff. And we had our prom this weekend. And for us, that meant we went to a outdoor, like a ropes course place, outdoor space for our prom for all those who were concerned. Masks, distance, blah, blah, blah. But had a good time. Glad the kids got to do something. Last year, obviously, was a big nix on basically everything from spring semester onwards was nixed. So I'm glad that the kids this year got to do something.
At least a single portion of their senior year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, it was outside. There was
just being it's a school. It's an education institution.
Yeah.
Which I'm only mentioning for the fact that it was allowed to happen is, hey, there's an implicit laws were followed.
Yes. 100%.
That being said, I do really like the fact that under the constraints that just is the reality of the situation. That is what it is, and you can't do anything about it. There's no point stressing about things you can't control. I do like the fact that they got at least a semblance of one part of a normal senior year.
Yep.
Even if that's just, hey, it's my senior prom.
Yeah, and it was interesting because I was curious as to were they going to come in, the full prom for the girls, their full dresses for the gentlemen and the suits and such, and then
I'm forgetting the name of the flower.
The corsage.
That sounds right.
Corsage.
That
Shout out
right.
High School Musical 3.
Jamie, help us out.
I don't know what a corsage is. Anywho, so and it ended.
You're right. It's corsage.
I remember my lyrics. It'd be kind of a mix where like half the kids came in their good stuff, took pictures, then changed, and half just showed up like we already took pictures or whatever. Just because it was like a rope. So you had like a zip line and a rock wall and blah blah blah. And again, everyone
that was said way too casually.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Look. Where I work, that little step above your regular.
That is what it is.
Yeah. But so
yes.
Prom. What was your quickly for those expecting like any kind of consistency with us and what these episodes are? I apologize in advance. Dash those hopes right now and just enjoy.
Listen, because
nonsense.
Because as a point of pride, we will never intentionally lie to you. Last week, we promised you that we would give you some unsolicited lifting advice.
We can do that.
And at some point this week, we will make sure to sneak in some unsolicited lifting advice. However, next week we will actually be back to actual.
Simplified. Next week we got a simplified series coming up.
Next week we're returning to the simplified series. So next week we'll be back with very just what you tend to expect from us. More. The word that pops in my mind is authentic, and that is just the wrong word. More just like straightforward, in your face fitness content. Yeah. That's not what we're coming at this week.
No, today we're going to start talking about prom. Which for me was let's do some math real quick. Almost 9 years ago. My senior prom would have been 2012. So yeah, 9 years ago.
28 for me, but you're a year older, so that checks out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How was your prom?
It was decent. I almost didn't go.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Wow! You take me down memory lane. I literally just have not thought about these things for years. So my original date to prom, asked her if she'd go with me. She said yes. Then ended up the week of prom, like, hey, like I forget what exactly it was, but she was like, hey, like I can't go.
Yeah.
For what it's worth, and like, I mean, we still talk every now and then just to like catch up and keep in touch. For what it's worth, it wasn't a like she actually didn't even show up there.
It wasn't a I can't go, and then she shows up with the head of the chess team or whatever.
Yeah. I was head of the trivia team. That would have started some beef. However, I then ended up, just I was like, okay, well, like I was going because I had a thing for this girl, and now she's not going. I don't even know if I want to go. My friends ended up talking me into it.
Yeah,
had a great time. Don't regret going. I was also like looking back, dude. How are you gonna skip senior prom?
It's kind of as far as things that are important in giant air quotes for the audio listeners prior to turning 18. Senior prom is kind of one of those big things.
It's when you're in high school, it's like the most important thing that's ever happened to anybody ever.
Yeah. It is the deciding factor. It is the end all be all. Yeah.
The rest of your life is decided by how this night goes.
Exactly. Colleges ask, how did your senior prom go? We're going to see if we're going to keep this application thing going.
I'm just saying I know people. I don't actually. But I am saying I do know people that got into Harvard and then got turned down because they were turned down on senior prom.
Correct.
So as senior prom decides everything. But now I ended up going. After prom, we ran out of movie theater.
Nice.
It's actually, our listeners don't know this at all. My right arm that I'm working on right now, that entire sleeve is going to be TV and movie references. So after prom in a movie theater is pretty much the best after prom I could have ever dreamed of. And the part that wasn't movies was all like, not real money, but casino games.
Yeah.
So you just took two of my favorite things and threw them in a room together. I guess all in all, what I'm starting to realize as we talk about this is prom was great.
Yeah, that's awesome.
How was yours?
So I didn't go to junior prom. I vaguely remember my parents were like, you can do like homecoming, or like because I did junior homecoming and didn't go to prom junior year, and then I didn't do homecoming senior year, but went to prom senior year.
Okay.
The girl I asked said no. I do not blame her. Looking back on it, shout out Adrian Barlia, still love you. I saw her receipt, so she came back. So I work at the school I graduated from, and she came back. I think like her brother still went there, or whatever she was doing. So I talked.
I need you to realize that I'm gonna clip this part of the conversation. Look her up on Facebook. Be like, just tag her. We don't know each other.
Hi, Adrian. I hope you and your I think it's fiance. I don't know, whoever your boyfriend is. I'm sure it's lovely. In any event,
or fiance. There may be a ring.
Who knows?
No offense intended.
Correct. No, she said no. I remember and to be fair, I asked like an absolute loser. I took like a piece of notebook paper, and then like giant bubble letters wrote prom ? And like stuck it in her locker. I think I'm assuming I put my name on it somewhere because she Facebook messaged me later, like a day later, like, oh hey, I'm flattered you'd ask, but I was going with a bunch of girls and blah blah. And again, that was true. Like like her and a bunch of friends, the whole go together thing. So other than getting my heart shattered on prom night, it was great. No, so we also had casino games at our prom. It was at I can't remember what the name of the spot was called. Something Cotillion, like St. Martha's Cotillion or whatever, some spot in wherever.
Yeah.
Had the prom. It's fun. And then for our post prom, we rented out Dave and Buster's in White Flint Mall. And
of course you did.
yeah, right. They're perks to going to school in Potomac. So rented out White Flint, the Dave and Buster's.
I also the amount. I'm sorry to cut you off, and we will get right back to the story. The amount of shade that I throw at you, like I didn't go to high school in Howard County. I think when I went there, fourth richest county in the country. When I'm talking about my high school experience, it's not like my high school was struggling for money.
Yeah.
And I'm very fortunate to have everything I did.
Yeah.
And I still will just casually throw so much just shade
To be
at
fair,
you.
there are levels. Again, we haven't said names. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, where I went was there's levels to this. And again,
there are.
not me.
There are.
Not me. They dragged me from Up County because I was good at sports. And they're like, we like this guy because he can hit
I'm
things
just saying,
well.
unsolicited lifting advice. I am what I am, and y'all choose to listen to me. That's a you decision.
That's a you problem.
Like y'all. I don't want to tell you what that says about you. You can figure it out for yourself.
Yeah.
But my boy here, Mr. Samuel Thomas himself, is a recruit.
Yeah, that is exactly what it was. Now, to be fair, my dad knew the football coach, and where I was blah, blah. In any event.
Hey, did you turn down D1 ball? Because I know you did. So don't lie about it. Did you turn down D1 ball?
That's a story for another time.
There we go.
We will have.
My boy is a recruit.
In any event, so go to Dave and Buster's for post prom, and they gave us cards that were, and again, it's we rented out the spot, so it was like free for all the things that didn't give you tokens, so all like the video game equivalents, the racing simulators, that kind of stuff was all free, and then we got a gang of tokens for like the stuff that gave you tickets back. Yeah. My boy, shout out Ivan, he ended up winning a sandwich maker, which he kept in his locker for the remainder of the school year, and it's used, I think, 2 times. Ivan, you'll listen to this.
Ivan,
let me know.
Ivan, I know you're tuning in. I just want you to know how much I'm enjoying the story right now.
He got a sandwich, and it was like it wasn't a small number of tickets for the sandwich maker. It was like like the George Foreman style, whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah, and prom was like
Michael Scott, sizzle your foot.
Prom would have been, so let's say about this time, like mid-April, and he kept it in his locker. Like, I don't know why. We didn't have plugs in our lockers. Like, he was like, I'm keeping this here, and I think he's used it twice. I don't know. If you still have it, let me know, Ivan. I know you're listening. Let me know if you still have that sandwich maker. But he got a sandwich maker.
We can make paninis.
Yeah, I mean, he used it twice. I don't know about since. But yeah, so he did that. So that was prom was fun. We rented had a party bus thing that was real cool. Went back to my buddy Jeff's house after prom and watched I don't even remember, just whatever dumb stuff was on TV. Yeah. And then Jeff's dad made us great food in the morning. It was awesome. Great experience. But yeah, so figure start with the And I was telling you upstairs, like, high school is so bizarre of a time for you. Like, I was saying that, like, listening to high schoolers talk is just, it's ear bleeding, but it's because you don't know how to talk authentically at that point. Like, you don't know how to say, Monis doesn't know how to talk about Monis, or I'll say Sam doesn't know how to talk about Sam. Yeah. Sam just takes Kevin Hart jokes and makes Kevin Hart jokes and, like, talks that way as opposed to, like, saying what I feel.
Very awkward sort of. First of all, you think you're the shit. You think either you are just God's gift to earth, or you think it's your responsibility to be God's gift to earth. Second of all, like, I know undergrad me looked at high school me like, God, what are you doing?
Yep.
I know college graduate me looked at undergrad me like, God, what are you doing? I know December 20th, 2019 changed my entire life. Mm-hmm. And that will always be a big date in my life. However, I look at me before that day. And I'm like, God, what are you doing? Also, same with July 1st, 2020. Mm-hmm. Big day. And I can look at how my mindset has shifted since that day. And I'm like, I like me now. So months before, what are you doing? And I say this like 5-minute pretense to say, I'm sure that in 3 years, we're going to look back at this conversation, this exact one.
Yeah.
Be like, God, what are you doing?
I think it's super important for your personal growth to recognize when you were an absolute knucklehead before. And if you look back on your high school self or your undergrad self and go, no, that guy had it figured out.
Yeah.
He knew what he was doing, and he was definitely thinking logically and about the big picture. No.
Yeah.
We had this conversation before about just the growth as far as how we interact with people, how we've worked on listen, like
Just
how am
like-
I
just
listening
like-
to people when they talk to me?
Just like being more cognizant of other people's experiences and how other people's worldview is changed by things that you could not, or excuse me, is affected by things that you could not have personally possibly experienced.
Yeah.
And that's something you need to keep in mind while you talk with them,
Yeah.
because that shapes their opinions as your opinions or your experiences shape yours.
Yeah. Like assuming the best and like assuming when you talk with someone that
Assume
they
good
are
intentions
coming
until told otherwise.
correct. Yeah, that they aren't trying to lie to you. Like when they say something you disagree with, go, okay.
Yeah.
I don't think they're trying to be a bad person when they say this. I think that, again, that's their opinion that they have.
Mm-hmm.
I might disagree with it. I might agree with it. But whatever it is. And then we had a conversation, I don't know, a couple weeks ago where we disagreed on something. But we were able to have a civil conversation because I know that you mean well and that
Yes.
you came to that conclusion from a good place.
Yes.
So that fundamentally changes how we have a conversation because I don't have to go, I think that Monis is being disingenuous or he's being mean. It's like, no.
Yeah.
He thinks, we might disagree on the minutia of this, but we both come from the place of wanting better.
Whether we disagree, and at times we do disagree on what the answer is.
Yeah.
We do agree on the fact that there is a problem and this is a root of the problem.
Yes.
And we might disagree on how to fix said thing, but
We both want to fix the thing.
exactly,
Yeah.
like we're not sitting here debating whether or not a problem exists.
Yes.
And so, also, if you couldn't tell, we're talking about politics right now. But at that point, it's exactly that, where we're able to get past there's no sort of does the other person acknowledge that this is a thing that exists in the real world?
Mm-hmm.
And there's no sort of does this person actually care about, like, is this person's argument based on intending to do well, or are they arguing for the sake of arguing?
Correct.
Because especially with politics, sometimes, and this really ties in well to the high school people conversation, and just emotional growth and personal growth conversation. A lot of times, especially with politics, people will just argue for the sake of arguing.
Yeah.
And you'll sit aside and look at it. It's like, well, one, do you vote the way you're arguing?
Mm-hmm.
And one, if you don't, then I'm like, why are you arguing? That's just go away. And two, you don't vote? Okay, cool. Why do I care?
Yeah. I think with the arguing for the sake of arguing, I think it's really important to, when you have a conversation with someone, have the conversation with that person. Like the person you're looking at, not the amalgamation of all the things you think that they're saying.
Yes.
Or people who you think agree with them. Because that's one thing I've tried to work really hard on is when I'm talking with someone, talk to them. Don't talk to the ideas you think they might represent and that fit what you want to say. Have the conversation with the person you're talking to.
That, of all things, that makes me think of Captain Marvel, because I personally have some criticisms of that movie.
Yeah.
However, if I come up to someone on the street and say, yes, I have problems with Captain Marvel, there are a lot of assumptions that are made because most of the people that have vocal problems against Captain Marvel fit into a stereotype.
Yeah.
And that's where, evolution being evolution, we look for patterns. We try to make those bunches. I agree with little to nothing of what that stereotype would say in terms of problems. I love Brie Larson as an actress. I think the Okay, now I'm going to start listing off my problems with Captain Marvel.
We can have that. This is our podcast. We do what we want to do.
How do you introduce a character like that in between Infinity War and Endgame? That's already set up for failure.
Yeah.
How do you have your first solo female-led movie in between Infinity War and Endgame? That is already set up for failure.
Yeah.
And then how do you have that same character film her scenes for Endgame before she films her actual movie? No wonder Endgame looks flat, because she doesn't know her character yet, because she hasn't acted in the character yet.
This is one of the best recent examples of the industry process getting in the way of the art.
Yes.
So you can find
Oh
examples
my God, yeah.
with...
And to be fair, I think Marvel does a very good job of leaving the industry process out of it, and the reason why they've done so well against their competition, like we don't all know, is DC, is...
Who are you talking about?
is because I think they do a very good job of letting their actors, and especially their directors and their creative team, do their jobs.
Yeah.
I think after Phase 1, Captain Marvel is the glaring exception of, listen, you didn't do this right, and this is why the character fell flat. There's nothing wrong with the character. There's nothing wrong with the actress. There's nothing wrong with any of this. It's the character's overpowered. It's a Superman problem. It's a Shazam problem.
It's the fundamental problem with overpowered characters.
No one yet has found a good way of working around it. And that's where we're at.
Because there really is. Well, okay, the one is Saitama, One Punch Man, is to make an overpowered character interesting, you have to kind of change the fundamentals. In that case, he's born with being overpowered. Yes. It is literally the one exception.
Yeah.
There's others in anime exist, but yes, it's the same general thing.
Well, also, at least with One Punch Man, that's founded on it. The premise is in the name that he's so ridiculously overpowered.
It's also a satirical view of it.
Exactly. Whereas, for example, we're really digging into this. For example, with Superman. Superman in the comics and in a lot of the animated content is one of my favorite superheroes. He's so interesting. His stories are incredible. He's phenomenal. Superman in live action, and therefore Superman as he's perceived by the general public, and wow, I hate using that phrase. And therefore Superman as he's perceived by society is one of the worst superheroes in the world, because, well, what's his thing? Oh, he's only... And I'm talking about, you go up to a random guy on the street and you ask him, oh, what do you know about Superman? Well, he can basically do anything except he's weak to kryptonite, which, if they even know this, isn't found on Earth. Mm-hmm. Cool. How do you make that interesting?
Yeah.
And even Endgame,
you make him evil.
Marvel, they try to find a story reason to just leave her out of the story for as long as possible.
Yeah.
Because she's way too overpowered. Could Captain Marvel have killed Thanos? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Also, could Scarlet Witch have killed Thanos? Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a whole other thing.
Okay, yeah. When you start dealing in the meta-human, and the plot holes are, which is why I think when they focused on Tony Stark's character arc, which is the arc of Phase 1 through 4, for the big picture. If
you had to pick a single character for the entire Infinity Saga, it's Tony Stark.
Yeah, which very human, very real. That's good. Yeah, the fundamental problem with overpowered characters: how do you make someone relatable who can solve all problems?
Yeah,
and it's really hard to. Again, same. You can say the same thing with Goku. What's Goku's thing? Well, he always wants to fight, and his ego causes problems.
Yeah.
Okay, but he always wins. Same with Superman. It's how do you make Superman interesting? It's well, you got to make him evil, and he's a dictator, and they beat him. Other than that, it's he's good and just. The same with Captain Marvel. It's just the fundamental problem of she's super powerful. That's it. Okay. Because there's no struggle. There's no hero's journey. There's
The problem is just I have so many problems with the writing in that movie.
Yeah. Best acting was Monica Was it Monica?
Monica Lambeau.
Lambeau, 100%. That scene is the best scene of that entire movie,
good.
hands down.
I also think I think Captain Marvel as a character works really well when she's working with other characters. And the biggest reason for that isn't because the character. It isn't because Brie Larson falls flat. It's because, number one pet peeve with that movie. You spend half of the movie listening to her being told to not be so emotional, while the script and the writing dictate that she needs to not be emotional.
Yeah.
And so you're watching someone be calm and controlled, and then you're watching the characters they interact with be like, you know what your problem is? You let your emotions control you.
We haven't seen this happen one time during the movie.
Really?
Okay, the industry process getting in the way of the art itself, and then you also have to think, they're trying to move past Infinity Saga and go into space, and you got to introduce the Skrull and the Kree somehow, and when you have over 70 years of comic book history to pull from, it can get a little messy when it comes to putting it to singular stories.
I agree with all of that, and I have pushed back, but I won't throw it because I think people are probably interested in more than just why Monis thinks Captain Marvel failed.
Wait, that's not our podcast. Is it called Why Monis Think Captain Marvel Failed?
Episode title: Captain Marvel, New Writers Needed. It is. I just, but to be fair, when you put out as much content as Marvel does, you have to have a misstep.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And obviously Incredible Hulk, obviously Thor: The Dark
World, yeah.
I'll personally argue, really, except for Iron Man and the Avengers, all of Phase 1. That's a contentious opinion. We can cycle back to it.
No. I'm my cursory opinion. I don't have any strong disagreements.
Well,
Captain America was decent, but
Iron Man is good and started everything.
Yeah.
The Incredible Hulk we don't acknowledge.
Literally,
yeah,
we don't talk about it.
but literally, Captain America is passable, but is very much just a movie put out to serve a purpose, and it's the worst of his trilogy.
Oh yeah, Civil War is
incredible. And,
oh my goodness, and Winter Soldier. That's even what I was. Winter Soldier is
Captain
insane.
America: The Winter Soldier is the movie where you turn around and realize, wait, is Captain America cool?
With the best fight scene, I think, and best one-on-one fight scene in all of Marvel.
Captain America versus Bucky.
The best one-on-one fight scene Marvel ever put out.
And absolutely incredible.
Yeah, hands down.
We won't spoil anything for it, but if you're not watching Falcon and the Winter Soldier,
okay,
watch Captain America: Winter Soldier and then go back and watch this. There are parallels, and I've been watching half an hour videos just breaking down all of the parallels and all of the callbacks.
I thought you were about to spoiler alert anything in the MCU. I'm like, those movies are 2 years old. I don't think you need to spoiler alert Infinity War anymore.
Also, if I'm spoiling Infinity War for you, that's a you problem.
That is a you problem.
I normally give it, because movies release on quote unquote Friday, so Thursday. I'll give it not that Monday, but the Monday after. And then unless someone has specifically told me that they haven't had a chance to watch it, at that point I'm like, this is on you.
I think Endgame was a 2-week spoiler ban.
Well, when the studio says something.
Yeah.
Okay, I watched everything you put out. I'll respect it.
I saw it on the Thursday.
I watched Infinity War 12 times in theaters.
I saw it at least 4.
I kept count. Exactly 12.
I saw it at least 4 times.
And
but felt terrible after every single one and kept going back.
I have what you call a problem. Therefore, I watched it 4 times in the first 3 days of it being out.
Jeez. I think I remember that. Yeah.
Oops.
I saw me and Nick went and saw it. I got like opening day. We lived in a great spot down in Fairfax where there were like 4 theaters in a really close range.
Yeah.
So the one that we ended up seeing at was like the least used, but still was a great theater.
Yeah.
And it was super close. Like we literally could have walked to the theater.
Mm-hmm.
And
I remember that one.
Yeah, it was dope. But yeah, we saw that. Same with Endgame. Me and Nick and our roommate at the time, we had watched Avengers, Ultron, Infinity War.
Well, yeah, because Nick watches the entire
all
of the Marvel movies anytime any movie comes out.
Correct. He did 100% of everything, but I was like, let's just focus on the big ones.
I'm bad, but like Nick has
a problem. Yeah. But no, so we literally finished Infinity War an hour and a half before our tickets for Endgame.
Yeah.
So we were fresh, we were crisp and ready to go in.
I've seen a lot of memes and jokes about. When I'm sitting down with my kids and I'm making them watch these movies, making them,
they're gonna like it.
If they don't like it, they're not my kids, and that's a them problem.
Exactly.
I may stand by that. Let's cycle back to it. When I've seen a lot of memes about when they watch Infinity War, make them wait a year.
Suffer as I did.
And like, okay, all jokes aside, I'll probably at least I'm gonna take your phone. You can wait the night.
Yeah, at least a good 24 hours.
At the very least, like an hour, 2 hours. We're gonna watch this, and then we're gonna have dinner, and I'm gonna take away all your devices. and I swear I will never be a take away your things sort of parent.
Except for this.
I think if that's your default, that says more about you than anything else.
Yeah.
Sorry to all the people who were just offended.
We can talk about parenthood after this.
Yeah, I mean,
neither of us have children.
Come at me, I'll piss you off more. But there's an exception for this one. If there is a single movie where I'm like, no, you're gonna wait.
Yeah.
It's Infinity War.
Well, just that concept of waiting for stuff to come out, I think it's good that for Scarlet Witch, for WandaVision, and they're doing a weekly thing. Because, yeah, you do get kind of spoiled with the bingeable just ghost. I mean, I remember, my mother was super into Prison Break back in the day. Mm-hmm. And I remember very specifically that when she watched Prison Break, she was in a room, the door was closed, you could not bother her for that hour. I got a call on, when we had house phones, landlines. I got a call. I am ancient. We had landlines.
We're old. It'd be like that.
I got a call from a parent of a kid in my brother's class, my younger brother's class. Yeah. And I said, hello. He's like, hi, this is Mr. blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, how you doing, sir? He's like, hi, is your mom available? And I'm like, oh, no, sorry, she's watching her show. And he's like, okay, totally fine. I'll call back later, whatever. Yeah. Like, that was normal. Like, that was when it came on. This is before DVR was big in the house. Like, you had to watch when it came. And I think that is good that, again, Falcon Winter Soldier and WandaVision did the episodic every week. Because, you gotta learn. You gotta learn to be patient and enjoy that wait.
And also, for what it's worth, for example, probably my single... As much as I've spent this episode just ranting about MCU things, probably my single favorite thing of superhero content to come out in the last couple of years isn't Infinity War, and video listeners can see that I have the Infinity Stones tattooed onto my arm. Every single one of them at where they should be, as if the gauntlet was put onto my arm. I need to figure out how I'm going to work this into here. I have some ideas. Probably my single favorite piece of superhero content to come out in like the last half a decade is The Boys.
Yeah. Which I need to
Amazon Prime original. Highly recommend. And I'll normally with that, I'll always just sit down and binge it. And I enjoy it, and I love doing it. And to be clear, Jeff, Mr. Bezos, if by chance you're tuning in,
J-Dog.
Please don't stop putting them all out in one go. However, there is a different sort of enjoyment. And I might just be a glutton for pain, but there's a different sort of enjoyment in having to sit down and wait a week.
Yeah.
To see what comes next.
It was how we existed in TV media up until, let's call it 6 years ago.
Yeah, that's the norm.
Yeah, you had to wait. You had to wait for, and again, I you know, whether it's a mark of patience or blah 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 blah. But
Yeah.
I think both have their place, and both, like, again, I mean, for WandaVision, I mean, I just didn't watch anything until all but the last episode were out, and then we binged up to, we did the first 8, and then I watched the 9th when it came out.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah,
which is one way
recorded
to
an
do it.
episode and then we sat down and just
we just plowed through them, and that has its place for sure. But there's definitely
which, like,
something.
you still have the right to do that, and I think while I earlier in this episode gave the here's my normal spoiler thing, I'm normally very cognizant of trying to make sure to not spoil any sort of ongoing season, because I know that, like, I have a lot of friends that want to do the same thing.
Yeah.
I like to tune in week by week. That's a personal preference. I think if the season's still going on and you're going out of your way to ruin it because it came out a week ago. Okay, no, you're the asshole right now.
Yeah.
However, like, yeah, if you want to wait to the end and binge it, do that. If you want to tune in week by week, do it. But there's a weird sort of indescribable value in that sort of thing versus the here's everything in one go.
Yeah.
Because 100% what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit down, I'm going to have messed up sleep for one night, and I'm just going to watch everything.
Yeah.
And I'll still appreciate it, and I'm going to go back and I'm going to think about it and all of that, especially something like The Boys where I'm like, this is incredible. This is just, like, phenomenal. But there's a different sort of appreciation and value that comes from having to let that hour's worth of content just fester.
I like how you're saying that. And when you're watching week by week, and let's think back to, like, the network TV where you get next week on 24 or whatever it was, and you get the flashes, and you go, oh, I wonder what, like, you get to exercise your imagination and try to figure out, how are they going to solve this problem? How are they going to overcome this issue? As opposed to when you binge it, where it's like, how are they going to, I know how I'm going to find out. Boop. Next episode.
That's where we were talking about Infinity War, and that year of...
year!
We know they're coming back. We got trailers for Spider-Man before Infinity War.
Yeah.
Or before Endgame came out. Black Panther 2 was confirmed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Falcon the Winter Soldier, we knew about that. Like, we knew all of these characters that were snapped away were coming back.
Yes.
But it's just, okay, how are they going to do it? And I didn't think this is how they were going to do it.
Yeah.
And I think Endgame is more just a love letter to everything that came before it than an actual standalone incredible movie.
100%. Yeah, no, it doesn't stand on its own, really.
It's Infinity War is...
Not even really. It doesn't stand on its own.
Infinity War is one of my favorite movies to movie. With... I think only being beaten out by The Dark Knight, and even that, maybe I'm just biased because Heath Ledger. Well, because I think Heath Ledger's Joker is the best. Oh, this is going to start a fight. Because I think Heath Ledger's Joker is the best acting performance ever.
I think that's a fair. People would argue some Daniel Day-Lewis stuff.
There
are definitely arguments against that, but I agree that is 100% in the conversation.
There we go.
This is now a movie podcast, by the way.
That is all.
Unsolicited
movie advice.
I was trying to think of it. Is there an L word for lithograph?
The Oscars are this month. We'll find something.
Sure. Yeah, no, that's also goes to a bigger conversation about storytelling, where is the isolated single thing the goal, or is the collection of various stories? Again, like Infinity War was 9 years, really, and when you start with Phase 1, you get about 9 years earlier, building up to that, and then a year to Endgame.
I think really what set those two apart, and there's other movies that have done this, some that have done it well. John Wick is a special case that we can dig into in a second if we want to, but The Dark Knight and Infinity War are both set apart as movies that are centered around the antagonist, because that is something that you rarely see done well. Thanos, was set up for a decade, and then delivered on the hype. Infinity War is Thanos' movie.
He 100%. He is the primary actor.
Yeah, he's the villain,
and the mover.
but he's the protagonist of that movie. He goes through the traditional hero's journey in that movie. The Dark Knight, you took a Batman movie. You took the middle of
the Nolan trilogy.
Probably the best Batman trilogy we're ever gonna. Probably the best superhero trilogy we're ever gonna get.
Definitely an argument. Yeah.
And made Batman a side character. Like Batman doesn't really undergo much change that movie. Little bits, but not anything really significant.
Nothing fundamental to his character that impacted him for the next one.
Yeah,
or from the previous one.
That's the Joker's movie. That wasn't intended to be the Joker's movie, and that's how good the acting was. Yeah. Where Infinity War was supposed to be Thanos' thing.
Mm-hmm.
The Dark Knight was still supposed to be a Batman movie.
And it is. Technically, yeah. And again, it's still an excellent.
And to be fair, Batman Begins was good and deserves a lot of praise. I do think The Dark Knight is where we kind of just stopped and looked at superhero movies can be good movies. Not good for a superhero movie, just good.
Yeah. And so I'm trying to think, Dark Knight was for middle school for me. I'm thinking 7th grade for some reason. Yeah, for some reason I'm thinking 06, 07 Dark Knight came out.
2008?
8, excuse me. Okay, so 7, 8, whatever, right? Mm-hmm. Right in that middle school era for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, yeah. So when did Iron Man come out? What was Iron Man?
Literally looking that up right now. 2008.
Okay, so literally before. So it does 100%. It did set that standard for
and
good movie.
Yeah,
that happens to be about superheroes.
I didn't get into MCU until I think 2010.
I was definitely Iron Man 2 was my first Iron Man.
Yeah, I did. I didn't watch Iron Man on release. I 100% watched The Dark Knight on release.
Yeah.
It changed the game.
Mm-hmm.
And now DC took all the wrong lessons from it, and this is why the DCU is terrible. Come at me, please. But there's 2/3 of a good movie in there.
Yeah.
That's it. That is the Snyder Cut fanboys. I'm sorry. The only reason the Snyder Cut is good is because it does a bare minimum that the original Justice League failed to even do that.
Yeah.
It's not a good movie. The first 2/3 of Wonder Woman is all I will give the DCEU.
Yeah.
And okay, I'm just gonna stop that there. But
this is now a DCEU hate podcast. They'll figure it out eventually. Who knows? I don't know.
No, they won't.
Who knows? I don't know. I think that it's like storytelling is hard. Let's start there. Storytelling is hard.
Yes.
And again, we don't want to. We're not hating on the people who edited and worked and acted and blah blah. But it's
100%. Like I will never pretend like I could do that myself.
Mm-hmm.
My counterpoint is I'm also not paid millions of dollars to do it.
Correct.
So it's okay for me to be bad at it. Are we gonna make this a Snyder Cut hate podcast right now?
That's going to be the title, Snyder Cut Hate Podcast. Let's give some unsolicited lifting advice so we're not lying to our fans about this one. All right, so I want to shout out my boy Jared. He is trying to lose a little bit of weight for a thing coming up in a couple months, and he hit me up. I'm like, dude, I can throw you something together. And
also, Jared, I promise after we stop recording, I'll text you back. I'm sorry.
So
I love you.
So I put him together a little program, and I'm excited for him. He wanted I was talking to him. So he was a D1 athlete. So and he was like, and he told me, and I knew this obviously. He was like, yeah. So I'm used to people like making these things for me. Like we had a whole staff that did this kind of stuff. So could you throw me something together? So of course, how often could you get in the gym? So I could do like 3 or 4 days a week in the gym. So I think I said how often can you get in the gym for an hour? 45 minutes to an hour. So I can do 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
Cool, sweet. I was like, would you want to do isolated or push-pull legs kind of things? I think of push-pull legs. So I put them together a program, and not only did I put it together for him, I'm going to do it myself. Because,
I didn't know you were doing it yourself.
Yeah, because, I'm not, and it's not like it's something so crazy that I'd have to be like, oh, I got to make sure he's going to survive. It's like, no, let's, let's put my money where my mouth is kind of thing and see what it's all about.
My current lifting partner, I'm cutting and he's bulking, and I put his program together, and then it was like, hey, like, we go to the same gym and we go at the sime time. I'm going to do the same thing. It's for similar reasons, and I'm gonna stop talking about me and cycle it back to you. But I do kind of really like there's certain things about a program where just like little intricacies in terms of like actually applying it.
Yeah.
That you can't know unless you try it yourself.
Yes.
And yeah.
Yeah. So me doing it is more because like I've been building programs for myself for like 5 years or so. You learn the basic fundamentals and stuff, and you can kind of move on from there. But it's like, okay, let's test it. Why not? Let's see if what I'm telling him to do is in fact kind of getting just the at least checking those fundamental boxes.
Yeah.
And I think it will, because I feel like I kind of know what I'm doing.
I think you know your fundamentals.
Let's put my money where my mouth is. So
we kind of talk about this on a podcast every week.
Semi-weekly, regular basis. So I am excited for Jared to start his program. I am not charging him, as I am not officially certified personal trainer yet. I am on chapter 12 out of 16. To get that official.
We got to register for that certification test.
Yeah, and luckily my job, we do CPR, AED certification, so I'm about
to get researched for that too.
Same, I got to sign up for the thing, and I'll get it done, and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
But so if you are one of our listeners and you want a program, that'll be the thing. Again, like you can just talk to us, and we'll obviously be able to give you some insights. But fairly soon we'll be able to officially, with the accreditation of a world-renowned fitness accreditation program, be able to tell you how to lift things and give you solicited lifting. That's the thing; it'll be solicited at that point.
Yeah.
And we're not going to change the podcast name. That's a lot of legal work and behind websites.
We've got sponsors that would have a problem with it. That's just the whole thing.
Yeah, big ones like Google and they rhyme with Ace Cook.
And just to keep talking about how incredible we are. If you want to accomplish something that we don't know about, for example, December 12th, assuming that they don't change their date, December 12th this year, I'm running a marathon.
Yeah.
If someone comes up to me and says, "Hey, can you make me a program to help me run a marathon?" I'm gonna look at them and say, "Absolutely not." You can come at me next year after I've done it. Now I have to do it.
Yeah.
But
you were gonna do it.
I was gonna do it anyway. It's a stubbornness thing.
Yeah. It's less about physical well-being and more, I hate being told no.
Really, someone told me I couldn't. like 4 years ago.
And I have held on to that.
Now I have to. And it's not that like anytime anyone tells me I can't do something I have to.
Yeah.
It's that they told me I couldn't, and in my mind immediately said I could if I wanted to. To be fair, I don't want to. But I'm gonna do it once.
But I'll be damned if you get the satisfaction of being right.
Hell yeah. I'm gonna do it once.
Yeah.
I'm gonna run 26.2 miles a single time and never do it again.
Yeah, in honor of the first man who did it, who ran 26.2 miles a single time and never did it again.
Mm-hmm. Well, he died.
Because he died. He died, to be fair.
Also, to make all this worth it, so I'm running the Honolulu Marathon, and I have already found an all-you-can-eat sushi buffet in Honolulu. So guess what I'm doing that night?
Going to bed at a reasonable time and getting your rest.
The night before, yeah.
No, and it's Honolulu, so that sushi is fresh.
Oh my God!
Like they might have like caught it 30 minutes. Like that's the coolest thing about watching some of those shows that people go to like, you know, play like either whether it's Hawaii or even Maine or with like the fishing is a real deal.
Oh,
where
I go up to Maine.
They will like you will go out, catch your food, and then go eat it. Like there isn't fresher than that.
The best crab I've ever had. A friend of mine, like a high school friend, has a place down in Southern Maryland.
Yeah.
Down by the bay, where the Marmons grow.
Why did I see you down by the bay?
Where the Marmons go. Yeah. Back to my home, I dare not go for if I do.
Tell me you're from Maryland without telling me you're from Maryland.
So, has a place down by the bay, and her neighbor has a commercial crabbing license, and that's how they make their money. Anytime we're down there, they'll just pull some aside and be like, "Hey, this is for us." So sit down at a picnic table. All you can eat crab, and it is literally caught like pulled off the boat a half hour before you eat it. There's a difference in freshness.
Oh, like that's a mathematical fact. That's not even an opinion.
It's just, it is what it is. And if you're telling me I'm wrong, then all I found out is you haven't experienced it yourself.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to throw any shade for you because that's one of those things where I've been fortunate enough to do it, and all I want is for you to also experience it.
Yeah, our Colorado listeners, you know, little landlocked. Sorry you can't get super fresh seafood.
It is what it is.
Get to a coast.
Now, to be fair, y'all got things I would like to snowboard more.
I'd love to see mountains more regularly. Mm-hmm. Love mountains.
So you win some, you lose some. It is what it is.
We get crabs, you get mountains. Yeah. Can't eat mountains.
Phrasing.
So who Also, yes. Hey, right. we get fresh seafood. You get beautiful mountain views. I remember we went with my grandparents. We went to California. My grandfather grew up in L.A. and then Oregon, and we went to L.A. visited his family. Blah blah blah, and we drove up to Oregon, and we got to Mount Shasta. And Mount Shasta, very tall mountain. I don't know where it ranks in the tallness of mountains. Yeah. But I remember. I remember I was like 9 years old, maybe 8 to 9, and I remember we get close to it, and we look up into the sky, and I'm like, oh, those are really cool clouds, and he was like, no, that's the mountain. Like again, growing up on the East Coast, where we live in Maryland. We live on the very flat, very plainsy, no crazy mountains. Even the Appalachians, which are close to us.
That tall.
Yeah, no, the people on the West Coast don't even consider the mountains.
Yeah.
So my first time seeing like a mountain, it blew my mind.
Yeah.
Like I was genuinely like, oh, I thought those were like clouds.
Yeah.
That is the snow on the top of the mountain. Like that's how beautiful mountains are.
That's a thing.
That is a mountain.
That's one of the songs where I grew up very fortunate. Just being able to just drive to Lake Tahoe anytime you wanted to. It's one of those things that I never appreciated until I didn't have it anymore. By the way, Mount Shasta is the 5th tallest mountain in the state.
Cool. States or state?
State.
In the state. Okay.
California is huge. I don't have
Very
a bear.
true.
I don't have a bear tattooed on my arm or anything.
Yeah.
But
it is very large.
it's got an eighth of the U.S. population.
I believe it. I mean, like the stretch of I-95 from like Alexandria to Boston has 17% of the U.S. population. It is 2% of the landmass of the U.S. and is 70% of the population.
Yeah, but
because that's New York, Philly,
yeah,
DC.
yes, but also that was going to be my counterpoint, and state pride is really showing right now. The amount of states in the major cities you just named versus one state, 1/8. California, if it theoretically split off and was its own country, would be the 5th largest economy in the world.
Yep, same thing with the Bosch Wash megalopolis.
Yeah, but that's so many states, so it's cheating. Let me have this.
I saw something that was like a stupid meme. It was Megachusetts. And it was just they just took Massachusetts and just extended it in a straight line across the country.
I've seen the same thing.
Like why is that funny?
I don't
Why is
know,
that
but
funny?
I
Can
like
someone
it.
explain that to me? Why Megachusetts, the idea of a state 20 miles wide and 3,000 miles long, is hilarious to me. The worst sports fans. Those would be the worst sports fans in the world. Because that entire state would still just root for the Patriots. Mm-hmm. No hate to the Patriots. I have no real beef with you as an organization.
From me, hate to the Patriots. No hate to Tom Brady.
That's fair, yeah.
No hate
yeah.
to Tom Brady.
Correct, yeah.
I stopped having a problem with Tom Brady when he left the AFC.
That's fair.
That's
always me with Tony Romo when we started broadcasting. I don't hate
That's-
you anymore because you're not on the Cowboys.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I say with my Washington football team shirt.
I think that's justified.
We got some cool names coming up, by the way.
Yeah.
That like shout out Pat McAfee's podcast or show. I don't know what it officially is, but they went over some of the potential names. My favorite: the Washington Red Wolves, Washington Wild Hogs, Washington Renegades.
I like Renegades.
I like Red Wolves and Wild Hogs. Either
Okay,
of
so-
those. Again, you still get the R, so
Yeah.
you can keep all the things. But Red Wolves or the Washington Wild Hogs. And again, the Hogs were the O-line in 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s, sometime in there.
That makes
where
me like it more.
the Hogs were the name of.
It makes me like more that's rooted in history and
Yeah.
culture of the organization.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm not a Redskins fan, or excuse me,
Washington football team named TBD.
There we go. And that's where I just wouldn't know that.
Yeah.
But it being rooted in the team's history and culture, I think is a very that's just an. It's nice to acknowledge where you came from and where you've been.
Yes.
I'm a very big fan of just whatever you're into, know your history.
Yes.
I can't recite all of lifting history. There's major things that I can't just list off the top of my head. What I will always do whenever I have a chance is watch documentaries on it. And if someone's talking about it and I don't know about it, I'm gonna sit down and shut my mouth and I'm gonna listen because it is important to know your history.
No Dorian Yates. No
Know your
Ronnie
roots.
Coleman. No Flex Lewis.
Know how the golden era came around.
Yeah.
Why is Venice Beach important?
Mm-hmm.
Why do we care about this one little stretch in the greatest state?
Yeah.
Had to sneak that in there.
I was gonna stop you. Just let it happen. I don't get into state beef. Yeah, no, but 100%. Yeah, no. Understand. Who are the. I mean, let's go to music. Understand the roots of whatever your preferred genres, whether it's hip hop, whether it's rock, R&B, country, whatever. Is know the path that led you to where you are.
Yeah.
Who the big figures are. Who were the people who made waves. Who were the innovators? That's in the GOAT conference. Again, like the way I define the Mount Rushmore, we've talked about this before, is you have an OG, we
should do that episode soon.
We should, for 100%, and we can do it in the context of whatever, but your OG, you're the first big star, you're innovator, and then the guy who never got the credit that he should have deserved called it the shadow goat.
Yeah.
Like that's how I would define it. Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
You know, so know that whatever it is for whatever your thing is.
Yeah.
Film, music, acting.
And just be able to have a conversation about it.
Yeah.
And for example, lifting, if all you want to do is pick things up and put them down, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Correct.
However, when you want to start just escalating things, when you want to start getting more serious about it, whether it's talking about it in front of a microphone, whether it's getting on stage, whether it's getting on a platform, while I wouldn't necessarily say that it's required, I think it can only benefit you to know what came before you.
100%.
Yeah, just know your history, regardless of what you're into. Know your history.
Yeah.
It will only make you better at what you do.
Yeah, and it allows you to appreciate where you are too. Where if you know that, whatever it is, whether it was how hip hop originated as like kind of rebellious music and counterculture, or you think punk rock, same thing, the OGs, counterculture, like that allows you to appreciate where you are now and what people are able to do now when you realize that people had to, it wasn't easy. Or like stand-up comedy, for another, as again, a big part of the podcast I listen to were people who were in stand-up comedy, where that started with people who would get arrested for saying things. Like literally, the OGs got why am I'm blanking on the name of the first big stand-up comedian, and it will come to me later, as it always does.
As it always does.
But he got arrested for jokes. Because again, this was in the 50s when off color or blah 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 wasn't allowed, and then you move to like Sam Kinison, who would just was kind of that the start of like that wild era of say just crazy whatever outlandish stuff. Like if you don't know that there was a time when people were getting arrested for jokes, you can't really appreciate the freedom that stand-up comics have now. Yeah. In the same way for lifting, if you don't know that that like that the OG bodybuilders, this wasn't really a profitable career. This was a lot of it was done purely like for the love of the game.
And even now, still like natural bodybuilding, you're not gonna, for the most part, you're not gonna make your living off of that.
Off of competitions, 100%.
Yeah, I would say even period. There are some that like will compete and coach, and that's how they make their living, and that's those. To be fair, at least the ones I'm aware of are normally some of the best proponents for the sport, and have very deservingly earned that right. But that's not normal. Mm-hmm. Almost like the vast majority of professional natural bodybuilders, it's like a side gig. It's something that they, if anything, lose money by doing.
Ronnie Coleman was a cop for his first 3 Olympia wins. I think it was like the 4th one. He was like, I can do this full time now.
Yeah.
But he was a police officer for the first 3.
And that's goddamn Ronnie Coleman.
It's Ronnie Coleman.
And if that doesn't tell you everything you need to know, then
Arnold was a shitty actor. And then the politicians. Oh, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
But
when you're putting so much into something, knowing your history and also knowing like what else is going on right now, like if when, for example, if you got ambitions of I want to earn my pro card, absolutely, yes. Same. Let's. We're all gonna get there.
Let's talk.
We're all gonna get there. You should like. For example, like the federations that or the federation that I'm looking at competing under, and that I'm hoping to eventually earn my pro card under. I'm already looking at, what tends to do well here. What characteristics do people who earn their cards and people who earn trophies tend to have?
Yeah.
What do judges tend to prioritize for my federation? I'm not going to say that's required for me to do. I'm not going to say it's required for anyone to do. I am going to say that it can't hurt you to look into that.
Yeah.
Know your history. Know your culture.
Know yourself. Know your worth.
Damn right. I can't think of a better point to cap off if you've got anything else.
I like it. I like where we're at.
All right. Guys, thank y'all for tuning in to another episode of Unsolicited Lifting Advice. My name is Monis.
My name is Sam.
And if you like our content, the best thing you'd ever possibly do to help us out is just rate and maybe even review us on your app store.
Mm-hmm.
If you're tuning on YouTube, maybe like us. Maybe leave us a comment. We appreciate you.
Thumbs up.
Also, on that note, if there's anything you would like us to talk about, let us know, and we will.
Yeah, if you want more DCEU hate content, comment below.
I don't have a problem with Zack Snyder. I just don't think he gets those characters. I'll end it there.
If you want more Marvel love content, talk to us. Yeah, appreciate your support as always. Everything at ULA Podcast. Hit us up. Talk to us. Tell us you love us. We need to hear it.
We appreciate y'all.
We really do. And we thank you that you keep rocking with us. Podcast episode 18. It is officially old enough to vote. I hope it doesn't, but it can if it wanted to. Yeah.
That's an it problem.
It would write in Harambe as a joke. That's what our podcast would do.
Yeah, it would.
But we appreciate your support as always. Thank you for listening and tuning in, and we will see y'all in the next one.
Have it going.